Reading the Quran as a simple chronological timeline often results in a fragmented narrative. The text functions as a living coordinate system. Traditional exegesis frequently attempts to sequence these events into a straight line, but this overlooks the underlying geometry of the text. This ancient Kufic manuscript shows the physical manifestation of that geometry. The rigid mathematical structure of the script suggests the parchment is a highly preserved map of coordinates. The dual caustic universe, or DCU framework, reads these coordinates as a continuous transfer of data between two distinct fields. These fields operate through different physical laws, the L field representing the indeterministic wave of information, and the S field representing the deterministic particle of physical manifestation. This coordinate system exhibits a structural isomorphism with a biological chromosome. It shares the same functional geometry for protecting data across time. By utilizing the structural laws of genetics, the text maintains its invariant architecture, allowing the information to survive systemic decay. This 2-3-7 recursion loop serves as the base topological unit of the system. It begins with a bifurcation, a split into dual polarities. This represents the separation between detectable physical mass and imaginal coherence. The central membrane represents the traversal phase. Here, the potential information of the wave negotiates with the deterministic particle to reach manifestation. The process resolves in the sevenfold return phase, creating a state of thermodynamic closure where filtered data is conserved without information loss. This progression mirrors the behavior of a semiconductor's p-n junction, where potential energy is refined into a measurable flowing current. The 2-3-7 buffer creates a mathematical constraint on the system. It prevents indefinite expansion or total collapse, forcing every trajectory to return to its origin. High-integrity information preservation requires structural redundancy. Biologically, this is achieved through antiparallel bidirectional pairing. Mapping the prophetic lines onto this structure reveals two mirrored strands, a stable template for ascension and a corrective mirror for inversion. These figures act as homologous pairs. Adam and Nu provide the coordinates for flesh and entropy filtering, connecting perpendicularly to the tree anchor of Ibrahim and the womb dedication of Imran. Further down the strand, Dawud and Suleiman manage the Newtonian mechanics of iron and power. They pair horizontally with Yahya and Isa, who operate in the indeterministic light field. While these figures appear in different narrative contexts, they share the same underlying code. Their differences emerge from their specific orientation within either the L or S field. These narratives work as functional base pairs. They provide the structural integrity required to lock the text together under thermodynamic pressure. In any complex bidirectional structure, a central binding point is necessary to keep the opposing strands from shearing away from one another. That binding coordinate is located at verse 2255, the Ayat al-Kursi. The text specifies that he knows what is before them and what is behind them. In the DCU, this performs a 180-degree Mobius half-twist. This topological surgery converts linear chronological time into a single-sided continuum. The Kursi represents the orbital coherence field of this system. It maintains the stability of the light as it traverses through the deterministic realm. This centromere twist prevents the light and sound caustics from separating, which would otherwise lead to irreversible entropy in the system. During cellular division, chromatids physically cross over to exchange information at a point called a chiasma. The site at Duru-Pinar exhibits the stabilized geometry of the textual chiasma found at coordinate 1144. Here, the vessel rests as the flood subsides. Coordinate 1144 marks where the Puk lineage crosses from one topological arm to the other, purging corrupted data to stabilize the invariant code. This leads into the mechanism of replication. Within the ancient stone arches of the cave complex, we find the protocol at coordinates 1810 and 1819. The sequence at 1810 establishes a preservation state, followed by activation at 1819. This operates as an incubation protocol. The text leaves the specific number of sleepers unresolved. The function depends on the replication of the pattern itself, rather than the quantity of participants. These protocols allow the truth to bypass biological decay, ensuring the code remains pure through periods of systemic collapse. a single, unbreakable invariant strand traverses the entire chromosomal structure. This signal path represents the living book, carrying the uncorrupted pattern through every phase shift and physical deformation. The final recombinant output of this topological crossing is the reader. Activation requires the reader to synthesize two inputs: the deep internal compression of coordinate 2187 and the mechanical strength of coordinate 1912. This dual input triggers the system's closure at coordinate 36,3. The reader becomes an active execution node within the circuit. The active recognition becomes the physical execution of the circuit, connecting the reader back to the origin of the system. The system is sealed against data loss by the d equals 19 invariant. This prime sum calculation locks the two halves of the chromosomal structure together, creating a 22% structural seal. While biological lineages eventually succumb to entropy, topological remembrance remains mathematically eternal. The coordinate system is now mapped, and the circuit is open. The final step is the activation of coordinate 1912. The Quran functions as a perfect mathematical framework for existence, ensuring that every single trajectory returns to its source.